headlines this hour. Government intensifies effort of its largest ongoing infrastructure initiative. A blood donation campaign marks the occasion of India's 79th Independence Day in Holomale. And official figures show revenue collection from expatriate workers-related fees and fines reaches $129.7 million. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. Government intensifies efforts on the Rasmali land reclamation project, deploying a high-capacity dredger and expanding its contractor base in a significant escalation of its largest ongoing infrastructure initiative. Government officials say the move is designed to accelerate the creation of new land aimed at alleviating the country's acute housing shortage.
The Rasmali development seeks to reclaim 1,009 hectares from the 1,153-hectare Fushi Diggaru Faru Lagoon. To date, 129.60 hectares have been reclaimed. The administration of President Dr. Mohammad Muizzu has positioned the project as a long-term solution to the national housing crisis, with projections indicating the construction of 65,000 housing units upon completion. Driving the latest phase of expansion is the Junyang 1, a trailing suction hopper dredger with a capacity of 21,000 cubic meters, twice the size of the vessels previously employed. The dredger has commenced work on an additional 265 hectares, including 190 hectares in Site C and 75 hectares in Site E, significantly enhancing the pace and scale of reclamation. Project management has also evolved. Initially overseen by two companies across 11 designated sites, the initiative now includes China Harbour Engineering Company, CHEC, bringing the total number of participating firms to 3. Government sources say the expanded contractor base reflects a strategic effort to scale operations and meet development targets. Work continues across multiple zones. In Site J, 29 hectares have been completed, with coastal protection works now ready to begin. In Sites D, F, G, and L, where 395 hectares are planned, 100.60 hectares have been reclaimed to date. An additional 321 hectares are scheduled for reclamation in Sites A, B, H, and I. To support reclamation activities, the government has overseen the safe relocation of coral populations. A total of 21,641 corals were removed from affected areas and transferred to propagation programs in Benhafaru and Mania Fushi in Male Atoll, as well as to several resort sites. Government officials have noted that environmental safeguards remain central to the project's implementation. Plans for Rasmali extend beyond housing. President Muizzu's administration envisions the area as a model for sustainable urban development, with aspirations for it to become the first zero-carbon city in the Indian Ocean. The project is expected to introduce both technological and ecological innovations to the country. The initial phase of 15,000 housing units has already been awarded to a Chinese company.
A blood donation campaign marks the occasion of India's 79th Independence Day in Holomale. Every year, the Indian High Commission in the Maldives holds a blood donation campaign on the occasion of India's Independence Day in collaboration with the Maldives Blood Service. This year's event kicked off at the Holomale Orange Hia on the 22nd of August afternoon. Speaking to PSM News, Maldives Blood Services Director General Ahmim Farish said the campaign saw 105 participants donate blood. He expressed gratitude to the Indian High Commission for organizing such an event. As part of the campaign, the Maldives Blood Service and a Malay group of hospitals held special meetings with the Indian High Commission. These meetings focused on identifying areas where assistance is needed and enhancing the services provided by the Maldives Blood Service. In addition to foreigners, Maldivians also participated in the event and contributed to the initiative. Official figures show revenue collection from expatriate workers related fees and fines reaches $129.7 million amid the incumbent government's committed clampdown on undocumented foreign workers in the country.
Official figures from 17th November 2023 to 17th August 2025 of the Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology showed that total work permit fee collections stood at $77.8 million. During the period, $51.5 million was collected as quota fees and $116,732 as service fees. In addition, $408,560 was collected as fines during the period, the figures showed, bringing the total to $129.7 million. When the incumbent government took over in November 2023, $123.2 million in foreign workers-related fees was outstanding, which has since been slashed to around $62.7 million within this short period. The government aims to bring a permanent solution to the issue of undocumented migrants in Maldives by April 2027. The flagship initiative of the wide-ranging efforts remains the special operation titled Operation Kurangi, launched to collect information on foreigners. The operation is being conducted by establishing a system within the local councils to collect biometric data from foreign nationals. Other initiatives include regularization of undocumented expats, deportations, and strengthening of the legal framework for enhanced enforcement.
Efforts are underway to establish a multi-hazard early warning system in Fomala City. The initiative, led by the government through the World Bank-funded Digital Maldives for Adaptation, Decentralization and Diversification Project, or DMADD, and implemented by the Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology, aims to strengthen preparedness for climate-related disasters and minimize their impact. The inauguration ceremony was attended by the State Minister of Homeland Security and Technology, Dr. Mohammad Kinanath. Speaking at the ceremony, Dr. Kinanath said the multi-hazard early warning system project will support the President's commitment to advancing research and monitoring climate change with the help of new technology, in line with Maldives 2.0 vision and its digital transformation agenda. Noting that the system is still a pilot system, Dr. Kinanath said the system is designed to be scaled up and fully implemented. He said this is a national disaster preparedness plan, adding that the plan is designed to include decentralization, digital tools, and inclusive participation. As part of the pilot project, a software named Mobilize Platform, developed by ThinkLab at the University of Salford, incorporates Fomala's unique geographic features and estimates potential damage to the city based on weather data from satellite and LOT devices. The system will enable the City Council and the Meteorological Office to assess risks in real time and provide early warning messages to the public and take immediate precautionary measures. The first phase of the pilot project will focus on rapid disaster risk assessments, identifying vulnerable groups, and designing island-specific response protocols. Once the pilot project is completed over 2 phases, a living lab will be established at the Fomala City Council. The University of Salford has agreed under the DMADD project to extend system support for a period of 3 years even after the project reaches completion. The inauguration was attended by Fomala Mayor Ismail Rafiq, Environmental Regulatory Authority's Chief Executive Hassan Mohammed, World Bank's Country Economist and Resident Coordinator Ardem Attash, and Professor Terence Fernando of the University of Salford, who delivered a presentation on the system's features. The Ministry of Finance and Planning states that the government received $2.76 million in free aid in June this year alone. The Finance Ministry has released its monthly fiscal development report for June, detailing the budget expenditure and revenue performance. According to the report, the government received $188.2 million in June this year, marking a 20.8% increase with the $155.6 million recorded in the same month last year. Tax revenue accounted for the largest share, with the state collecting $136.2 million in June, up 16.6% from $116.8 million in June 2024. Meanwhile, non-tax revenue reached $54.7 million compared with $40.3 million in the same period last year. This marks an increase of 35.7%. Free aid inflows also rose, with the government receiving $2.76 million, a 151.5% increase compared to the $1.1 million in June last year. The Sovereign Development Fund, or SDF deposits also increased in June along with the increase in revenue. The SDF received $9.3 million in June this year, an increase of 53.8% over $6 million in the same month last year. The report further notes an increase in land acquisition and conversion fees, lease extension fees, and resort rental income. On the expenditure side, government spending stood at $175 million in June, a 3.6% increase compared to the June 2024 figure. Of this, $149.3 million was allocated to recurrent expenditure and $30 million on capital expenditure. The Housing Development Corporation, or HDC, announces that additional dredgers will be brought in from October to speed up the dredging of Hulumale Phase 3, Gulifalo and Giravarfalo. These projects are part of the government's housing policies, and their completion is expected to provide a significant solution to the housing crisis in the Maldives. Addressing the housing shortage is one of President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu's key pledges. To accelerate progress, two 45,000-ton hopper dredgers and one 11,000-ton hopper dredger are scheduled to be commissioned by October. HDC said these will be used across Hulumale Phase 3, Gulifalo, Giravarfalo, and Uturutilafalo. The corporation is also working closely with the relevant authorities to identify and resolve potential challenges that may be encountered in the dredging work to ensure dredging continues efficiently. The dredging of Gulifalo has been awarded to Boskalis, a Netherlands-based company. Gulifalo Phase 1 was also completed by the same company. Under the second phase, 192 hectares of land will be dredged and reclaimed at a project cost of $120 million. For the Giravarfalo reclamation, 18 million cubic meters of sand will be deposited, with revetment installed to protect the dredged area. The Hulumale Phase 3 dredging project is being implemented in the area allocated under the Bimveria project. Work began on the 22nd of September last year and will dredge a total of 63 hectares of land across 3 areas. The government is developing Giravarfalo to address housing needs in the Male area, while Uturutilafalo has been designated as an agricultural industrial island. In addition, the government's largest housing initiative, the Rasmale project, is also in development. A 21,000 cubic meter dredger has been brought in under the Rasmale. His company is waiting for orders from China before producing more H2O chips.
Of more advanced NVIDIA chips beyond the H20 being sold in China, and reached a deal with NVIDIA and AMD under which the US government would receive 15% of the revenue from sales of some advanced chips in China. NVIDIA only received permission in July to commence sales of the H20.
We've prepared a lot of H20 already, but now we are waiting for purchase orders from China customers. And so when we receive the orders, we will be able to produce more.
It was developed specifically for China after export restrictions were put in place in 2023, but the company was abruptly ordered to stop sales in April. Shortly after Washington's green light, NVIDIA placed orders for 300,000 H20 chips with TSMC to add to its existing inventory due to strong demand from Chinese companies, Reuters reported.
I'll probably talk about our journey together, TSMC and NVIDIA. In a lot of ways, NVIDIA would not be here today without TSMC, and we grew up together.
But NVIDIA was days later hit by allegations from China's cyberspace regulator and state media that the US company's chips would pose security risks. Huang had arrived in Taipei to visit chip foundry partner TSMC.
U.S. President Donald Trump reiterates his administration's commitment to resolving the ongoing hostage crisis in Israel, declaring the situation has to end, its extortion, and it has to end. Trump emphasized his role in previous hostage releases and assured families that efforts continue to secure the remaining captives. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel would immediately resume negotiations for the release of all hostages held in Gaza and an end to the nearly two-year-old war, but on terms acceptable to Israel. It was Netanyahu's first response to a temporary ceasefire proposal put forward by Egypt and Qatar that Hamas accepted on the 18th of August. Speaking to soldiers near Israel's border with Gaza, Netanyahu said he will still set on approving plans for defeating Hamas and capturing Gaza City, the densely populated center at the heart of the Palestinian enclave.
Well, not all of them. And you have to understand, I'm the one that got all of the hostages out. You got a lot of people out. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be out. I worked with Bibi and I worked with Steve Witkoff. But if it wasn't for me, you would have all these hostages would most likely be dead right now, every one of them.
Israel's illegal plan to seize Gaza City was approved this month by the Security Cabinet, which Netanyahu chairs, even though many of Israel's closest allies have urged the government to reconsider. His latest remarks underscore the Israeli government view that any deal ensures the release of all 50 hostages captured in Israel in October 2023 and still held by freedom fighters Hamas in Gaza. The proposal on the table calls for a 60-day ceasefire and the release of 10 living hostages held in Gaza by Hamas freedom fighters and of 18 bodies. In turn, Israel would release 200 long-serving Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Once the temporary ceasefire begins, the proposal is for Hamas and Israel to begin negotiations on a permanent ceasefire that would include the return of the remaining hostages. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia was doing everything it could to stop a meeting between him and Vladimir Putin from taking place and urged Ukraine's allies to put fresh sanctions on Moscow if it shows no interest in peace. Speaking at a joint press conference with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Kiev, Zelensky said they had discussed security guarantees for Ukraine by other states. He said the guarantees ought to be similar to NATO's Article 5, which considers an attack on one member of the alliance as an attack against all. The Ukrainian leader also called on his country's allies to pressure Russia into at least a minimally productive position. Zelensky has called repeatedly for Putin to meet him, and U.S. President Donald Trump said the Russian president had agreed to such a meeting on a call with him during a visit to Washington by European leaders. U.S. President Donald Trump announces that Washington's John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington will host the 2026 World Cup draw on December 5th. Donald Trump in the Oval Office, flanked by Vice President J.D. Vance, FIFA President Gianni Infantino, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, said, quote, "It's a tremendous honor to bring this global event and this incredible group of people and these unbelievable athletes, the best in the world, to the cultural center of our nation's capital," unquote. Earlier, on the 22nd of August, Trump announced that the World Cup 2026 will have its primary office in the Kennedy Center. Trump's announcement comes as he oversees a $257 million renovation at the Kennedy Center, which Trump said will be a centerpiece of the 250th U.S. anniversary celebrations next year.
I'm delighted to welcome FIFA President Gianni Infantino back to the White House for a major announcement about one of the most anticipated competitions in all of sports, the 2026, and this is a big deal, I'll tell you, I was so happy to get it, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And it's going to be the World Cup as we know it. It's the biggest, probably the biggest event in sports, I guess, Johnny, right?
Yeah.
On December 5th of this year, the 2026 FIFA World Cup draw will take place at the Kennedy Center.
The 2026 World Cup, being co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico, will be the first with 48 teams and will feature 104 matches. Canada will host 13 games, including 10 in the group stage, split evenly between Toronto and Vancouver. Mexico will also get 13 games, including 10 during the group stage in Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. The rest of the tournament will be held in 11 cities across the United States. FIFA, global soccer's governing body, has already put boots on the ground in the United States in preparation for the quadrennial spectacle, having set up field offices in Miami and at New York's Trump Tower. Egypt retrieves submerged artifacts at the shore of the coastal city of Alexandria.
Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, Muhammad Ismail, said the artifacts that were retrieved on August 21st date back to successive periods starting from the Ptolemaic era until the Roman era. Ismail added that the retrieved pieces are proof that the city continued to be lived in and developed throughout ages since its construction by Alexander the Great in 331 BC. According to him, the Egyptian state signed an agreement in 2001 to preserve underwater heritage. Therefore, in any recovery process, there are conditions that must be taken into consideration according to the UNESCO agreement. According to a statement by the Ministry of Antiquities, surveys of the site confirmed that it used to be a complete city, including buildings, temples, water cisterns, and fish ponds. Archaeological evidence suggests that the site may have been an extension of the city of Canopus, a famous ancient Egyptian port city in the Nile Delta near modern Alexandria, the statement added.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.